Hi, good morning, folks. In this video, game day. The Sabres' final game of the season is upon us. Let's see if they can go out on a winning note. Let's talk about it coming up.
Sounds interesting.
Well, now that we're back home and it's the last game of the season and RJ's last call, a big emotional game for sure in so many ways. I mean, even if it wasn't RJ's last call, it's always kind of an emotional game when we know the season's ending tonight. And it's been pretty much a fun season, guys. I have to just say right off the top before this video, I've had a lot of fun with this season. A lot of fun with the channel this year. It was just a lot of things happened this year. I think that if we would have known before the season started, I'm sure there would have been a lot more people more in tune with the season, because I know a lot of fans out there are still maybe not following them as much as they did and things like this. And but I think this team is going to win the fans over. I do. I believe this team will win the fans over by next season. Early. Won't take much. I think the Sabres will be a surprise next year once again. So let's look at the scenario today, guys, because there's a few scenarios rolling out there for us that are important, and we're going to look at all of them. And but a few things I wanted to talk about before we jump into this, okay? Here are a few stats here, pretty important, okay? Since March 27th, the Sabres power play ranks #1 in the NHL. So the power play found its way. It did find its way eventually, and all of us knew that power play at one point, guys, was killing us, just killing us this season. And the power play turned it around, thus the Sabres have. We live in the era where special teams dictate a lot, right? So #1 in the league since March 27th. So for the last month, we have the best power play in hockey. We're, for the record, 15 for 44 in that span, 34.1%. Sabres have scored a power play goal in 10 of its last 16 games since that time, and 2 power play goals in 5 of those contests. Very interesting. Alex Tuch set a new career high in points per game this season. Tage, of course, had his big breakout season. He is 14 goals, 11 assists in the last 22 games. And Olofsson has 9 goals, 12 assists in his last 19 games. So Olofsson went on a bit of a tear with goal scoring. It's a little quieted down right now, but still a great finish. Skinner, 10 goals, 11 assists the last 19 games. And Dahlin, I should mention Dahlin also. He has at least 2 points in 4 of his last 7 games. 4 goals, 5 assists over those 7 games. So again, there's just so many good stories here. And it's weird because 2 of our losses were 5-0, against the higher end teams, right, this season. And I do say this season. So let's look at something else I wanted to show you guys. In case it doesn't turn out our way today, just in case. Just one clip here, guys, just so you know what we're looking at. Worst case scenario. All right, here we go. Now there's the lottery odds, and there's the 2 teams that could overtake us in the standings. If we happen to lose today and both these teams win today, then you got to bump us up to 6.5% in the lottery, or 6%, or what have you. There's so many things that can happen today. But as we sit right now, we have a 5% chance in the lottery this season. So we'll look at that when it's time. But I just thought I'd throw that out there because there is a golden trim to, if we lose today, that could happen. But it's not really that important, really. It just really isn't. I just like to look at numbers and what we could be looking at facing, not facing. Let's hope we don't even have to look at this and that the Sabres go out on a winning note today, because it would be fitting, finishing 5th in the division, I believe. I think they crept up on the whole league this year. That did, especially a bunch of teams under them that never thought they'd finish under Buffalo this year. So I would like to see us finish on top of as many teams as possible. And that's it. I'm hoping we, of course, close it out on a winning note. And it's going to be, guys, it's going to be a little rough, I think, for us. We're going to have a few withdrawals, I think, after this game, because the boys have been fun down the stretch this year. And I hope they would be. I really did. I was hoping the Sabres would have a good finish this year, surprise a lot of teams, turn a lot of heads, a lot of announcers. I was listening to the Bruins. I was on the Bruins yesterday thread, basically, on their stream. And they were saying a lot of good things about the Sabres. They were. I mean, they were saying that this team now has really turned a corner. Like people are starting to notice. It'll be quickly forgotten once the season's out, because then everybody gets caught up with the playoffs, the draft, free agency. And they'll talk a little bit more about us early October next year. And that'll be the next time you hear about, well, the Sabres looked pretty good down the stretch last year. They won't be talking about a lot of things that we did down the stretch. Was big surprises, a lot of upset games that we did, big comebacks. A lot of things went right also, so a lot of good memories this year. I think we're going to look back at this when it's all said and done that we overachieved. We overachieved. A lot of people will look at it that way. Not me so much, not really. But yes, when you consider the money that was spent on this team, that we have a guy named Boychuk on our on our long-term injury reserve, not even long-term injury reserve, on our injured reserve, just so we can hit the floor, or at least be safe at the floor, call it what you want. And I think the glaring thing about this team is just how young we are. We're young. This is a young team. And this core is gelling. Look like a veteran team in many games down the last few months. We look like a veteran team some nights. And I think we're probably going to do that today. I'm guessing. I got a feeling they're going to. So we'll see. That Chicago's coming in playing pretty good hockey. I mean, they haven't really been, they're not coming in like on a 6-game losing. They've won their last few games. And it's not like a 6-game losing streak or something. They're coming in playing pretty good. And, they beat Vegas in that shootout to basically end them at the moment. And I'm not sure if if Dallas had made the overtime by that point, because I got caught up into watching that shootout with Chicago and Vegas, because I just wanted to see Vegas get eliminated. And the way Vegas was acting, they might have already known that the other team had already got in to an overtime, that Dallas got in, and that they were done. So who knows? But they were pretty upset when they lost that. So I don't know for sure. Don't know. So today I'm not sure what to think. Who's going to be in the lineup? Just don't really know. I just think whoever's there, we should win this game because it's RJ's his last game. And that's going to be the biggest emotional thing, I think, of all for most Sabres fans today, is that RJ is hanging it up after perhaps the greatest career in NHL history of color commentating. And I don't just mean his calls, but the longevity. I mean, he has been there since 1971. That is insane, folks. That's insane. I was going to St. Gerald's Elementary School when this happened, when he started broadcasting. It's crazy to think. I think of my life since that means I was like 8 years old, right? So just turning 8. And I'm thinking where I was. Think of it this way. We'll put a capsule on it like this. This is before. RJ's been calling games before the 1972 Summit Series between Canada and Russia. That's just crazy to think. Really. It's mind-blowing, guys. It's mind-blowing to think this man has devoted his entire life to the Buffalo Sabres and his passion. which he has said numerous times. He was blessed. God blessed him to give him the job he wanted to do his entire life. And, you know, the only fitting thing I could see more than this, is that the Sabres in the near future, within 4 years, win a Stanley Cup and have RJ on the ice when that happens with them, you know, down there. I'm sure that's what would happen, provided his health is good and he's, you know, all of it, God willing. That would be, for me, the absolute perfect Stanley Cup victory. We'll be on our home ice and RJ gets brought onto the ice one more time, you know. It would just, for me, be the perfect scenario in the perfect world. And you know what, guys? It could happen. Our team's on the rise now. And anything can happen with a young team in the near future. So we will see. You know, RJ said it himself that he believes they're going to make the playoffs next year. He could be right. I mean, you know, he said it with great optimism, you know. And that's what I'm saying when it comes to optimism. If RJ can be optimistic, guys, so can you. You know, we got to take that optimism, bring it right with us into the... We got to get rid of, guys, our job as Buffalo Sabres fans this summer, okay? Our job is to get rid of that damn little gray cloud we have hanging over our heads all the time. That's time to get rid of that. It's time to get rid of that once and for all. This team has changed. The culture has changed. No, they're not winning games yet, but they're the lowest paid team in hockey. We haven't done any kind of splashes in the offseason yet. I think they're going to. I think we're going to acquire some pieces on this team that are needed to make a playoff push for next year. And not just a playoff push, slap together the proper kind of team that could make a deep playoff run all of a sudden, just out of the blue. It can happen every year, as we know, in the playoffs, and we could be that team. So I would love nothing more than just to see the Sabres get it all together this offseason, and let's get going this October coming, and we'll see then. So let's see what happens today, guys. Let's hope that the boys go in there and get this done and close this season out on a winning note. We'll do it for RJ. And we will talk about the final game of the season in the post game later on. Till then, guys, have a great afternoon, and I will see you at some point when I get home later on. Go Sabres. Let's finish this right. Let's get this done for RJ today. See you then, guys.